At the start of this year, I was set on building a few things. My EDM mastering course, this YouTube channel, learning programming and DSP, completing the CS50 course at Harvard, which meant I needed to limit the amount of time I was spending on mastering. So, this year I did 4 masters a day, which were 4 1-hour blocks for each master. After family holidays removed, a trip to LA in June, and also the time I have off over the holiday period, that left me with 45 weeks of work Monday to Friday, or 900 1-hour slots available for mastering. That makes up the 800 plus masters I did this year. And I wanted to share with you a quick fire list of things I had in place for myself so I could complete all those projects. The first thing is everything which got booked at the studio was quality controlled before the session. See, each morning I have a block of time dedicated to listening to mixes, and I listen for the following things. So the first things I note are the true peak level, the long-term integrated dynamics. If there's any audible distortions or artifacts present, I note them here. I like to note the following as well before jumping into mastering. What's the low end translation? How is the bass and kick balanced with one another? Where's the energy of the low end to the top line? The mid-range balance from the low mids to the high mids? The tonal balance from the high frequencies to the low frequencies? The dynamic composition, so how punchy something is, how something is forward or back, the stereo fields, the mid-side balance, if there's any vocal sibilance or creative notes I have for my client. Doing this slows projects down a little bit at the start, but at the benefit of when I'm actually mastering records, I'm getting the most out of them. So that limited time I have for working on projects for mastering, I'm getting the most out of every session. For confidentiality's sake, I'm going to blur out the names here, but for every project I set up, I use the invoice number which PayPal or QuickBooks generate for everything from the project delivery to the session names, for my archiving, emailing, and that number becomes a unique identifier which allows me to easily index all the assets and project information for my communications accordingly. This is hypercritical because if I need to find a mix somebody sent me, I can just quickly look up this number either in my emails or on Spotlight on my Mac, and it's going to index it straight away. This keeps things efficient, well organized. It allows me to cross-reference if I'm doing an album and I need to go to a single I did a few months ago. I can quickly get to that information fast. So my indexing is super important in terms of systemizing my whole mastering process. Every project I booked has prompts to help the client fill me in and align me with their goals, as well as a calendar link if anybody wants to book in a 15-minute call ahead of their session to chat details. Here are the questions I ask. Is there anything you want the mastering to highlight? Is there anything you're conscious of in the mixes? And are there any releases you want me to reference? These are important questions. It gives the clients an opportunity to either pick up the phone, call me, set up a scheduled call, give me information about the session. So before I jump into it, I have as much information as possible, especially because a lot of my work is remote. They're not here in the studio with me. I don't want to go into any session blindly. I like to be information rich, so I'm loaded up with and understand their projects as well as possible, so we knock it out of the park straight away. When I set up a session, I note all my waveform data. What's the true peak level? Where's the loudest maximum short-term loudness in the track? And I put those time markers in my sessions so they're readily available. And by doing that, I'm able to systemize my gain staging in the project because I know exactly where to gain stage my true peak to, -6. I know exactly how I need to hit my compressors. I know exactly how much room I have with my limiting and clipping. That's a really important part of the pre-process in mastering. Also, doing this has the net benefit. If ever clients update a mix, I can pull new waveform data in and gain stage it exactly to the way the previous mix was. So that way I'm still hitting a lot of the processes in the same fashion and just needs a little bit of tweaking. Another thing is when I commit my masters, I simultaneously print a -1 decibel true peak version. So I actually have an output here for -0, -1 decibel true peak. They go through a bus into true peak limiters and print alternate versions at those true peaks, mainly because Apple Digital Masters requires a -1 decibel true peak at the native sample rate and bit depth of the session. So I do that all in the same chain, all at once, so it all prints out there and then I can audition it later. Then in addition to that, not only am I monitoring on my mains, I'm also monitoring on the MM500s, which in the second half of this year, I've found incredible to minimize any errors slipping through. It's a critical part of auditioning the final stages of my mastering, and I've got a full video on these headphones because they really have created a great workflow for me in the mastering studio. Finally is how I plan out my day. I have 4 1-hour sessions and I don't do them back to back. I have them split onto 2 blocks so I'm not burning out. Sometimes I'll split it up with some admin, some YouTube stuff, some mixing, but just something in between to break that rhythm and just keep me fresh going from one mastering session to the next. I've found these systems and guides allow me to focus in a session without any distractions or things getting in the way, and that's what's really important about keeping up with this sort of volume of work. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and until the new year, take care.